Thank you, Stephen, very much, and good afternoon, everybody. And thank you very much for allowing us to launch WoolPoll here at the Rural Press Club of Victoria. In trying to decide where to launch a process such as WoolPoll, there are many factors to be taken into consideration, but ultimately it is about exposure, and so we hope that this venue will give us that. I would like to firstly acknowledge the President of the Rural Press Club of Victoria, Stephen Cook, CEO of AWI, Stuart McCullough, my fellow panel members, but most importantly, all the media in the room, for it is you we are relying on to get our message out. WoolPoll happens every 3 years, and AWI is required to conduct a poll asking eligible levy payers to determine the levy rate to be paid for industry research and development and marketing for the next 3 years. The poll is run in accordance with the Wool Services Privatisation Regulations of 2003 and is overseen by an independent panel of wool growers. WoolPoll 2015 will establish the levy rate for the next 3-year period from the 1st of July 2016 to the 30th of June 2019. An eligible levy payer is a person or entity who has paid $100 of wool levy in the last 3 financial years. This time, when asking the industry for nominations for the panel, I asked them for 3 nominations, one to be female and one to be a younger person. As a panel, this is the most diverse I have chaired. From Western Australia, Bindi Murray. Western Australia has 2 state farming bodies, the Western Australian Farmers Federation and the Pastoral and Graziers Association, who alternate. WAF nominated Bindi, who is also a member of PGA, so she has provided us with a wonderful conduit between the two. She's a young mother who runs the sheep side of the family enterprise. From South Australia we have Richard Halliday, who is the President of Wool Producers. Wool Producers has on its board representatives of all the state farm bodies, and so is the peak body representing members of those organisations. Also from South Australia we have Sydney Laurie, a young man, also with a young family, representing South Australian farmers. From Victoria we have Ian Feldman, representing the VFF, and also from Victoria we have Robert Ingram, who has property near Delegate in New South Wales, representing AWGA, Australian Wool Growers Association. From Tasmania we have Georgina Wallace. Georgie's nomination came forward from the Australian Association of Stud Merino Breeders. She's the current president of that organisation and also provides us with a conduit to the Superfine Wool Growers Association. From New South Wales we have Adele Offley. Adele is a young lady from central southern New South Wales, was nominated by New South Wales farmers. From Queensland we have myself. Our family is a member of AgForce and so gives us a connection with that state farm body. AWI also has a representative on the panel, and this time it is Dr. Meredith Shield, a board member. DAF also has a representative on the panel, and this time it is Fran Freeman. Having Fran on the panel provides us with a direct link to the Minister and also helps in any issues we may encounter and making sure we stick with the regulations. So the panel has 5 female members and 5 male members. A good mix of youth and experience, and a panel we hope will help Curry Communications to engage wool growers to be part of the WoolPoll process. In developing the voter information memorandum, we have not tried to reinvent the wheel, but tried to build on the previous document, and I can confidently say that it is the best we've done so far. The language is simple and easy to read, There's clear separation between the panels part of the document and AWIs, and we are sure it will provide growers with the information they need to make an informed decision, coupled with the information on the website at www.woolpoll.com.au. Voting will open on Friday the 14th of September 2015 and close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 30th of October. There are 3 ways to vote: online, by mail or by fax. The 2015 Senate inquiry into agricultural levies highlighted 3 fundamental principles which underpin a best practice levy model: the ability to influence, accountability and transparency. WoolPoll can be very proud that they have all these covered. Wool is one of the few industries where every levy payer is provided with a regular opportunity to directly influence the levy rate. This is the 3rd time I've chaired the WoolPoll panel, and I'm proud of the increasing levels of participation from the industry. In 2009 we achieved 53.7% of votes, 2012 60.94% of votes, and in 2015 we are hoping to continue to build on the participation rates and have more wool growers have their say than ever before. We want to see people from prime lamb enterprises, mixed farming enterprises have their say, as well as merino breeders. We want to see this important decision making actively discussed within family businesses and with business partners. It is a conversation worth having, so don't let others make the decision for you. So today we launch WoolPoll 2015. Over the next couple of weeks, voter information packs will be sent to every levy payer, and on the 14th of September, the voting will open. It is a vote that is in the hands of the wool industry. WoolPoll 2015, your vote, your future.
Thanks, Steve, and welcome everyone to the launch of 2015 WoolPoll. WoolPoll, the wool industry in 1936 decided that it needed some representation in terms of research and development, and put in place the instruments to form such a company. In those days, of course, the decision on the levy rate was made by the Minister and some industry leaders. So the industry's come a long way since then. It's now a very democratic process. It happens every 3 years. We're very proud of the fact that it does happen every 3 years. We're very proud of the fact that zero is an option. The board would vigorously defend zero as being an option. We think that wool growers are entitled to make a decision on whether they want us to exist or not. In fact, some of the board members, 2 of our board members, were actually instrumental in 1999 and before in bringing about having zero as a mandatory option in the WoolPoll document. So we're very protective of that particular mechanism. As part of every WoolPoll, we must do a review of performance. That review of performance is written into our statutory funding agreement. It must be done by an independent consultant. That consultant has got to change year on year. And the terms of reference for that review of performance must be signed off by the Department of Agriculture. And that process is done in the lead up to WoolPoll, and I wanted to focus a little bit on that today. That document is 133 pages. There is a summary in the voter information kit that's going out to all wool growers. It's being mailed right now, but it's 133 pages, something like that, and it's available on our website for everyone to read. What the review of performance found is that it looked at all the elements of any business, irrespective of whether it's a milk bar, a farm, or R&D company. Of course, governance, strategy, operations, measurement and culture. Although culture wasn't spoken to much in that document, it certainly looked at all those components of the company. What we did, and I'll first tell you that Deloitte's were the company that we chose to do this review of performance for us. What they found is that the company in the last 3 years, the period that they were analysing, that last strategic period, improved productivity. We also created some demand for wool. We also increased some wool prices, and we delivered cost savings as well. A really good, clean bill of health for the company. What they also said, using our benefit cost analysis models, is that for every dollar spent, $2.90 was returned to wool growers. The average wool grower pays about $1,000 in wool tax over a 3-year period, about $300 a year. So on that basis, a factor of 3 return for wool growers. Deloitte also noted that this was an excellent return on investment. Every review that I've ever been involved with, of course, comes with recommendations, and we welcome these recommendations. Some of the reviews have had a few, some have had a lot. But that's a very important mechanism for us to have some fresh eyes on the business and look at those recommendations. Those recommendations have been made, they feature in this document that's being mailed out, and the board and the company has agreed to adopt those recommendations. As I mentioned, the $2.90 that Deloitte's were able to determine the company's return is a function of a number of our benefit cost analysis work that's been done over the last 4 years. What I put into place early as a CEO 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, is a measurement economist that we employ. He's a consultant, but comes into the business, and on a regular basis he's moving through the business, evaluating projects and programs before they start, during their operation and after they're completed. Excuse me. Just some of those benefit cost analysis that have been done over the last 4 years are featured here today, and I'll just go through them on a line item basis. Lifetime Ute Management is a project that started in 2006. More recently, what came out of Lifetime Ute Management was 2 large books and a training as training modules. And not only was there face-to-face training, there was also these modular books. What we've decided to do in the last couple of years with our app developers that are on staff is convert them into a better delivery mechanism. And the delivery mechanism we're using is a mobility device or mobility devices. So my Lifetime Ute Management now is available on an iPad or an iPhone, and has just been also dropped into an Android operating system. Wild dogs, we're just having a chat on our table about Will's wild dog problems in Queensland and the fences that he's putting up. This is a huge issue for the Australian wool growers. It's holding back many areas of Australia in terms of growing their sheep numbers. And not a board meeting goes by without the board banging on the table and asking us for a bit more on this, and also shearer and wool handler training is another great concern of theirs, which features last. Sports and outdoor concept comes from trying to tender wool as a technical textile. Wool is predominantly used as a tailored textile, and the sports and outdoor program is targeted at creating structures, creating knits and weaves that can be used as a technical textile. A very important part, and is returning really well. The campaign for wool started on Australia Day 2010. The Prince of Wales is the patron and agrees to continue to be the patron of that particular program. He will be visiting here in November, we know that, and he will be doing some wool events in that month. The China Luxury Program is a campaign that we use the gold wool mark on, a very successful program focused around China only. We had to give the Chinese something different. They had literally bastardised the wool mark in that market, and we had to create a new value proposition for them. And the Gold Wool Mark program is that program. Shearer wool handler training continues. We're training in excess of a couple of thousand shearers and wool handlers every year. We're putting a lot of effort with the TAFEs around Australia to make sure that we have enough shearers and enough wool handlers. It's an ongoing battle. The other thing that we are doing is doing our own training programs. We're now starting to contract people to go into sheep, video the shearer, and replay that shearing at smoko or at lunch, and go through with a coach and understand where he's failing, and that's also returning nicely. The levy rates that the company is going to, the company has recommended this time, or proposed this time, are 0, 1, 2, 2.5 and 3, exactly the same as they were in 2012. The AWI recommendation is 2%. The rationale for that, well, there's a few things. Firstly, the benefit cost analysis work that's been done, the work that's been done by Deloitte, indicate that we're going okay, we're going well. So we don't feel that there's any need to ratchet that back. In fact, we think that we can be more efficient and ratchet this up. The board, when they modelled this, and the board is the only one that can do this, you have to be privy to the balance sheet and understand the cash that we've got in the bank and what our forecasting is and modelling is out 3 years to be able to make a decision on what you recommend and what you propose. The board were, when this was being discussed in the first 6 months of this year, and it was being discussed at every meeting, was going through the modelling and was looking at the world's economy. And at that point, Greece looked like defaulting on loan, America was still emerging, China was a little bumpy, and it's proved to be really bumpy. It looks like growth there, although promised at 7%, is going to be half that. So we've got the US just hanging in there, Europe on a knife's edge, China not growing at the same rate. We're of the view that consumer confidence is not going to be great in the next 3 years. We think that now's the right time to ratchet up marketing, not ratchet down marketing. And certainly that played into the recommendations. Of course, anything less than 2% doesn't maximise the contribution from the government. The government provide us matching R&D funds. This is completely unique unique to Australia. Nowhere else in the world do governments chip in and match R&D funding. Every dollar of wool growers funds, they match it. If you model it, we hit the cap every year. We just hit the cap every year, slightly above. Cap it at 0.5 of the GVP. Now that works out at about $13 million a year. If you come back on a percentage basis from that, you do not optimise that money. You do not reach the cap that's available. And once that's removed, it's highly unlikely, once the government takes away money or you withdraw from it and they're not providing, it's highly unlikely that it's going to go, you're going to get it back. So that was some of the rationale that played into that. As Will said, the events open on the 14th of September, the voting opens on the 14th of September. The voter information kit is being mailed out to wool growers in the next 10 to 14 days. It closes on the 30th of October. During the next 40 days, I will be travelling around Australia. I'm doing something like 27, 29 events around Australia in the next 40 days. These are some of the places that we're conducting those events. New South Wales, of course, the biggest wool growing state, is well covered. 1 in Tasmania, 3 in West Australia, 4 in South Australia, a couple in Queensland, and a couple here in Victoria. The voter information kit, as Will suggested, is something that's come together with a panel that is diverse. It's diverse in gender, it's diverse in age, It was extremely amicable, and the process was expedited beautifully. Will, you are to be congratulated for the way you held that group together and got on with doing what the task was, so thank you. I also got to thank a few other people. Peter Slack-Smith, who worked so hard in most years as a star, every 3 years as a superstar for the company. She every 3 years has the review of performance, the WoolPoll to get through, and then we go into strategic planning and rewriting the statutory funding agreement should we get a return vote of 2 or something, not 0. And she does a wonderful job, so thank you, Peter. Her team, Pauline and Rebecca Felix, thank you for your efforts. And you know, there's people behind the scene that do a lot that don't get mentioned and deserve to be mentioned. The WoolPoll web page is available. It's also available on mobility devices. You can vote there, should you have your entitlements, of course. Thank you very much, and I'm going to take some questions now.